It was another quiet night at the office. No phone calls, no messages, nothing but junk mail and overdue bills to keep me company. Seems nobody wants to hire a real private dick anymore, a professional like me. A guy who does the detective work nobody else wants to do. A guy who wears hats and walks around in a black and white world. I began contemplating a more profitable line of work, like politics.
We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to you.
All right, folks, good afternoon, and welcome to the Thursday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN Radio Central. That's right, the 23rd of January. Donald Trump was sworn in just Monday, and it just feels like months have gone by with the amount of work and the neck break and speed at which this is happening. I am Joe Mangiacotti, and you can join the conversation for the remainder of the hour at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Our text line is up and running. It is 617-297-8388. Now, that just simply means there's a text screen on in the studio here. When you text, we try to work it into the conversation, and you can share your thoughts. But, of course, you can do that by calling in as well. So don't forget that we do stream, of course, like thousands of other radio stations on the TuneIn app. So if you look at the TuneIn app or download it, seconds to do that, punch in WCRN. You'll find us there. We got a really cool new logo with Radio Central on it. Do me a favor, hit the like button. We know you're there. And then we're very easy to find. And I stream my show from these studios in Westboro, Massachusetts, on my social media platforms at Joe Mangi Show, M-A-N-G-I, Joe Mangi Show. You can do that on Facebook, X, formerly Twitter, Twitch TV, LinkedIn profile. And I do it directly to my Rumble page in real time. We don't load it up. It's on right now. We do load the show up to Twitch TV and AU and TV networks as well. And we also stream on the WCRN Facebook. So if you go to WCRN 830 AM, do me a favor, hit the like and follow us on the station Facebook page and also on our YouTube channel. So I think that covers some of the housekeeping. So today, it being January 23rd, Ted, do you know what today is? Well,
what's today?
It would have been Teddy Goodpup's 11th birthday today. Today's his birthday. So as most of you know, Teddy passed away a few months ago at about 10 and a half, a little more than that. And his birthday was today. And we would always have a birthday party, whatever that weekend was. We usually did it at the post office pub, and he had the cake. And
there was bacon involved, if I recall.
For Teddy, not for us so much, but certainly Teddy got a lot of treats that day. And he would have been 11. I did post on my Facebook account, and you can see it on the Joe Mangiacotti Show account. I did post a new poem marking his birthday and the fact that he's gone. He's crossed the rainbow bridge, as they say. So Teddy would have been 11 today, and he's no longer with us. So happy birthday to Teddy. All right, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. And we bring you some common sense conversation here for the common sense citizen. And I love the fact that seems to be the theme of this Trump administration. He talked about it on the campaign trail to bring back common sense, that the new Republican Party is the party of common sense. And, has he changed the Republican Party going forward? Is it only going to last as long as he's in office or around? Or has this reset the Republican Party? Because there's nothing wrong with resetting parties. Parties have gone away, right? We had the Whigs, and we had all these different parties over the years. Back in the early days of our country, multiple parties would run for president. Abraham Lincoln comes along, there's the Republican Party, and we've fallen into this mindset that there needs to only be two parties. We've seen people try to break through as independent and green, right? We saw RFK Jr. say, fine, I'll go it alone. We have a few members of Congress that are independent. Bernie Sanders is independent. He's not, although he's very liberal and votes Democrat all the time, he's technically, unless something's changed, last I knew, he was actually independent. So has this reset the Republican Party to the common sense party and now the party of the average Joe, the everyday worker type of thing. Donald Trump has a unique background in the sense that even though he became a billionaire, he dealt with the blue collar workers to build and to change the skyscraper of New York City, of Manhattan. So he dealt with unions, he dealt with all kinds of people, and he seems to be able to relate to them. And we see that reflected in the election. And now they use that common sense. And I've been using the common sense conversation for the common sense citizen for 17 or 18 years. So I wonder if I have an argument for some kind of royalty there, Ted. I don't know if I should maybe bring suit to Donald Trump. That would be a twist of things. But here we are, a crisp January day in New England. We've got a lot to unpack. So let's kind of dive into it. We're going to tackle some of the big stories today and some of the not so big stories, I guess, shaping our nation and the world. And boy, is there plenty to talk about. From Trump's bold debut at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, which he did via video, to his flurry of executive orders reshaping America's policies on immigration, civil rights, and environmental issues. This administration is wasting no time delivering on its promises, folks. And as expected, the media and the political establishment are losing their collective minds on this. And the things he said that would be done, now, not everything could be fixed day one, it really can't, but he certainly took bold moves for the border. Hundreds of arrests in the first full day of his administration. And apparently some plans got changed because things got leaked out. And the argument that Tom Homan is having, and I get this, and it doesn't make any sense. First of all, how I do not understand why anybody's going to resist the efforts of the federal government to remove bad actors from their community for the safety and protection of its citizens. That makes no sense. Now, these states do not have to cooperate, but they can't legally interfere either. And that's the message he's sending out. And somebody's going to have to be charged. Somebody's going to have to be arrested to set the tone and to show them that you can't do this. I've talked about this, I don't know how many times. The concept of this sanctuary city, it's not a thing. There's no mechanism to do that. You just say it and declare it. You do not have the ability to pick and choose what laws you want to follow. So this is truly if you're not going to help us, stay out of the way. But here's the thing. Some of these people, and look at the news in the last 24, 48 hours, and the crimes, violent sexual assaults on minors, just horrible, horrible crimes. And in this argument, well, we have citizens who commit crimes. That's one of the most ludicrous kind of rebuts that you can come with. You're so missing the point. But why would you want to prevent these people from being incarcerated and deported? Why would you not want to look after the safety of your citizens? Because if you do not cooperate with ICE when there's a detainer and you let these people out onto the street, now they will do their job, but it's going to take more resources and more tax dollars to track them down, opposed to you honoring that detention and handing them over in the jail or in the courthouse in a controlled environment to ICE, which they're going to end up in their custody anyway. But you are allowing them out onto the street. And I think anyone who releases somebody with an ICE detainer on them should be charged with helping them escape, helping them to evade capture. If you knowingly let them out, like we had with that Judge Joseph, knowing ICE was out in the courtroom, out in the lobby, had the bailiff escort the criminal alien out the back door to avoid ICE. She nearly went to jail for that until Biden stepped in. So I don't get that. We're going to have to watch how that unfolds. And as expected, like I said, the media's losing its collective minds, right? They're going after him. They're attacking Elon Musk, accusing him of the Nazi salute, And they even purposefully turn the volume down when they play the clip. So you don't hear Elon saying how much he loves everybody and their support. And from my heart out to you, I'm giving you that. And he's touching his heart and throwing it out to the audience. So this is effort being taken to twist that. And just like we saw outlets like 60 Minutes and so forth alter video or do things, they eliminate the audio because the audio completely puts it into context and you understand what he's doing. But let's move over to Davos. President Trump took the stage at the World Economic Forum. He delivered a speech, and it was pretty much classic Trump, bold, unapologetic, laser focused on putting America first. And he promised to usher in what he called the golden age for the United States. Now let's pause for a moment and think about that. For years, we've been told by global elites that America's best days are behind us. Have we not? That we need to bow to international norms and let unelected bureaucrats dictate our policies. And Trump's message was the exact opposite. He reminded us that the world, or he reminded the world, I should say, that America is a sovereign nation, and our policies will be guided by what's best for our citizens, not what's convenient for the global elites. And he was able to deliver kind of a veiled threat there, not a threat, but just a fact of the matter to corporations, that you can have your corporation anywhere you want in the world. You don't have to have it in the United States. But if it's not based in the United States, you'll probably deal with some tariffs. And then why not have it in the United States? Especially if he's successful in lowering the corporate tax to the 15%. And then there was the digs at his predecessor, right, Joe Biden. Trump's criticism of Biden's policies was pointed as he contrasted his vision of an America First agenda with what he called a misguided priority of the Biden administration. He didn't mince words about the failures of Biden's border policies or his over-reliance on international agreements that undermine American sovereignty. All right, folks, that snuck up on me. We do have to take our first break here on the Thursday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show. Stick with us. We'll be back in 2 and 10, folks.
Looking for guidance as you face a future on Social Security? It's hard to figure out on your own, but MedicareAdvisors.com is a completely independent insurance agency specializing in Medicare insurance planning. We work with the top insurance companies so we can offer our clients the best coverage for them. We design plans with a focus on low costs, which we combine with personalized insurance advice aimed at helping our clients make better informed decisions. Russ Swallow is a certified senior advisor and a licensed insurance advisor. He's been helping clients with their health insurance needs since 1970. And after a failed attempt at retirement, he created the Medicare Advisors in 2014. Russ concluded that since Medicare is health insurance, he might as well put his almost 50 years of health insurance experience to good use, as 75,000 people reach age 65 in Massachusetts every year, and they can use some help. Call Russ today at 508-831-0805. Put his years of personal experience to work for you as you try to unravel the complexities of Social Security.
Are you ready for a change? Do you need a job that works around your schedule? How about driving your own kids to school and getting paid for it? AA Transportation is offering paid CDL training with regular permit classes that get you on the road. They have immediate openings for school bus and van drivers, as well as monitors across several districts. All you need is a good driving record with at least 5 years experience, a clean quarry, the ability to pass a pre-employment drug screening and DOT physical. If you already have a school bus or 7D certificate, join us now and earn up to $30 an hour with guaranteed minimum hours, health and dental benefits, plus a 401k. And for those experienced coach bus drivers out there, we have a position for you too. This is perfect for parents, retirees, or anyone who enjoys being behind the wheel. Call Lori at 774-361-5042. That's 774-361-5042. Start your journey with AA Transportation.
All right, folks. Welcome back to the second segment here, the Thursday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on Radio Central, AM 830, WCRN. You can jump in on the conversation for the remainder of the hour at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. So I'm going to finish my thought on this about Davos and Trump's appearance there, and that he minced no words when it came to Joe Biden, as he called it, about the failures of the Biden's border policies, his over-reliance on international agreements that totally undermined American sovereignty. Now, whether you like Trump's style or not, you've got to admit that he does have a point here. For too long, we've watched as our leaders shipped jobs overseas, ignored the crisis of our southern border, which has a huge number of tentacles of problems, from fentanyl and human trafficking to crime and gangs and so forth. And he's allowed foreign powers to gain the upper hand. And Trump's speech at Davos was clear declaration that those days are absolutely over. And it's not just talk on this. Trump has already started delivering on his promises. Within hours of his inauguration, he signed a series, dozens, right, of executive orders. And it's sending shockwaves through Washington. And lawsuits are going to be filed, and we're going to see whether or not they withstand it and so forth. But first, there's the issue of immigration. Trump reinstated the Remain in Mexico policy, which he had in his first administration. Of course, Biden rescinded it. And it's a very logical, common sense policy. It requires asylum seekers to wait in Mexico while their cases are processed. Now, this was a policy that was widely effective during his first term, and its return is a clear sign that the administration is serious about securing the border. And this absolutely makes sense. And I get sick of repeating, but it's so there. If you've traveled through multiple countries to get to the United States, you can hardly claim you're seeking asylum. Because according to maritime law and understanding just internationally, if you flee somewhere for persecution, danger, life in danger, or being in prison, political, all of the reasons, and you've traveled through multiple countries without a problem, you've got asylum. You should have sought asylum in the first secure port you reach. And that's why Mexico has allowed their southern border to be porous. Because they understand that these people have no intention of staying in Mexico. They're not really their problem. They're just literally passing through. And then they get to the porous southern border of the United States. And Trump's saying, no, you can apply for your asylum while you wait in Mexico. You're not going to run around this country when we don't know who you are. And if we decide that you aren't granted asylum, then we got to deport you. So no. So we do need more judges. We need a lot more immigration judges. We need them at the border. We need them where they're coming in, where they're being held. We need to get those done, not 6, 7, 8 years down the road. And you got to understand, they have got to understand, because the messaging that Biden sent out was, come on in, and you're going to have free health care. And you're welcome. And that's not, and he should have to answer for that, because that's not what the law says. That's not Barack Obama, Democrats don't talk like that. It's not that long ago. Barack Obama's term, where he used the word aliens. And he said, don't come here or you're going to be sent back. And then everything changed. But that stay in Mexico made a lot of sense. And the message has got to be to people, it's not automatic. Just getting here isn't, you can't get to the border and then wave down a border patrol officer, because you're not going to get a little piece of paper that says report or appear. You'll be taken into custody and held till your hearing, and then deported if you don't have a viable claim on asylum. And it's interesting that you've got AOC out there now talking about the concentration camps in Arizona and on the border. because unless the Trump administration and our government was able to build new camps in 48 hours, they're the exact same detention centers that were there during the Biden administration, in the first Trump administration, in the Obama administration. Remember the cages? And that picture went viral. And it turns out that picture was actually taken in 2014. And those people being held at those detention centers were all under the Barack Obama administration. So we've got, in the first couple days, Elon Musk is out there blatantly executing the Nazi salute. We've got concentration camps on the border that magically appeared overnight. Matter of hours earlier, they were normal immigration detention centers, but Trump gets sworn in and they instantly and magically become concentration camps. That's what we're dealing with, folks. He also announced plans to terminate birthright citizenship for children of illegal immigrants. Now, that's a bold move. And of course, it's sparking legal challenges, as it would. But it's a conversation we need to have. The question is simple. Should we continue to offer automatic citizenship to anyone born on U.S. soil, regardless of their parents' legal status? Or should we prioritize citizenship for those who respect our laws and contribute to society? Now, the 14th Amendment in the original idea behind birthright citizenship was actually crafted by the Republicans post-Civil War, 1867, when they began this to say, hey, we've got all of these newly freed slaves, mostly born here, but born into slavery, not considered citizens. So the reasoning and the purpose behind that birthright citizenship was to give citizenship to these newly freed slaves. And at the time, they were still concerned with the idea that a foreign entity, probably Britain was the biggest concern, of sending what we would call sleeper agents in to move up into the ranks of American politics to hopefully someday become either a member of Congress or the president of the United States, but really being a citizen of another nation the whole time. So that's the security part of it. So should someone who doesn't actually live in the United States as a resident alien, say, but are able to illegally cross the border and then give birth, should that status be a determining factor? Or is it really like some kind of game in the Hunger Games type of thing? If you can make it across that river, across that field, and you can squat and give birth on that piece of soil, you've got the lottery ticket. Your kid's a citizen, and now you can come in through the family part of it. What do you say? Well, what's the overall situation? If the parents aren't residents of the United States, if they aren't resident aliens or naturalized citizens, should citizenship be given to their child if they're born on American soil? Or should it be that their parents need to be on American soil in a legal capacity? And do we apply the legal doctrine of fruit of the tree? That if the parents aren't legally on American soil, they're not recognized as citizens of the United States, and that they shouldn't be there. And if they shouldn't be there, the fact that they give birth on the soil, does that give them citizenship? What say you on this? I'd love to know your thought on this. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. That's 508-871-7000. Should we examine and should we clarify the law that if you're born on American soil to parents who are legally in America, should you get citizenship? Now, one could argue so far if the parents do enter illegally, but they have been either surrendered or captured by Border Patrol, and they have been given a court date, which allows them to, technically, they're legally in the country now. Not as citizens, but they're awaiting their immigration hearing. They're allowed to move around the country freely at that point because we've documented the fact that they're here. One could argue they're technically legally here while they were waiting the trial, and if they were to give birth at that point, should that child get it? But if the parents are illegals and they are not here, they're using false social securities, false names, working under the table, and we don't officially acknowledge them, they are one of the people who got over or getaways. Should that happen? What say you? 508-871-7000. Love to hear what the average person's thinking on this. What is the consensus of that? I absolutely think this has to be debated, argued, and clarified, even if it takes a constitutional amendment. But it has to be clarified because one of the biggest reasons that people travel and risk their lives, risk their safety, risk the horrible things that can happen to them in the care of coyotes and cartels to get into this country is because of the promise that is there for them, the potential of the life that they can have. And that's why they are willing to risk it. But if they know that they're not going to be able to get a job if they're here illegally, if they cannot rent a house, buy a house, a car, drive a car, if their child isn't automatically a citizen, if all of these things, what is the incentive to come here illegally? And you're not going to be put into a $300, $400, $500 a night hotel. You will be put into a detention center. And that could mean being separated from your spouse. It could mean a lot of things. But if you know that it's not the way that Biden created it, that you could come in, you might not take that trip. That's the whole idea behind that. All right, we have to take our mid-show break here on the Thursday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show, but I would like to hear people's opinions on birthright citizenship and how we should be handling that. 508-871-7000, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. And don't forget our text line is 617-297-8388. We'll be back on the other side of the mid-show break here on the Thursday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show. Back in 2 and 10, folks.
Time now for the forecast from the Boston Independence Group Weather Center. Call Jerry Doherty today at 877-772-1776. Retirement is within reach.
I'm meteorologist Sherry Spear, and here's the latest Boston 25 weather on Radio 830 WCRN. High temperatures land in the lower 30s this afternoon, a little bit milder than yesterday by about 10 degrees. We've also got a bit more cloud cover. You'll find that it gets a little bit brighter as the afternoon goes on, and we will clear things out tonight with lows back in the teens. And tomorrow, similar temperatures, lower 30s, but this time we're going to go with Friday all-day sun. I'm meteorologist Sherry Spear, and you can hear Boston 25 live for the morning drive weekdays on AM 830 WCRN.
More live and local radio is next. Stay tuned to Radio Central 830 WCRN.
Here we go again.
Looking for guidance as you face a future on Social Security? It's hard to figure out on your own. MedicareAdvisors.com is a completely independent insurance agency specializing in Medicare insurance planning. We work with the top insurance companies so we can offer our clients the best coverage for them. We design plans with a focus on low costs, which we combine with personalized insurance advice aimed at helping our clients make better informed decisions. Russ Swallow is a certified senior advisor and a licensed insurance advisor. He's been helping clients with their health insurance needs since 1970. And after a failed attempt at retirement, he created the Medicare Advisors in 2014. Russ concluded that since Medicare is health insurance, he might as well put his almost 50 years of health insurance experience to good use, as 75,000 people reach age 65 in Massachusetts every year, and they can use some help. Call Russ today at 508-831-0805. Put his years of personal experience to work for you as you try to unravel the complexities of Social Security.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second half of the Thursday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. Reminding you can also join us on Facebook, Twitter, or X, I should say, Twitch TV, LinkedIn profile, Rumble, or the Joe Mangiacotti Show channel on Rumble, any of those places, including the station's Facebook page. And you can watch from the studio the streaming video and audio as well. Again, my social media is Joe Mangi, M-A-N-G-I, Joe Mangi Show. 508-871-7000 in a text line at 617-297-8388. So a text in from 774 earlier about, again, obviously anti-Trump person because Donald Trump is Teflon Don, convicted felon twice, impeached. Okay, here's the thing. Especially, all right, on the impeachment thing, folks, now we were able to see the transcript of that phone call. And don't you all feel a little foolish to realize that there was nothing wrong with that call, especially since what Donald Trump was saying is, I'm hearing all this stuff about the corruption over there. Will you work with our attorney general? And it turns out, as Comer pulled all the bank records and wire transfers, that millions of dollars were transferred over that event made its way to the Biden family. But they wanted to call that election interference. I said it back then, and I'm still saying it today, folks. That conversation, that inquiry that Trump made as president, he would have been neglectful if he didn't make that inquiry. If he heard that there is this massive corruption and paying off going on, and he didn't ask it to be looked into, that would have been negligent on the office of the presidency. And when you pull up this convicted felon thing, you know, you got to have some self-awareness what you sound like, because we know what a piece of lawfare that was and what the legal gymnastics to even bootstrap this stuff together. And then you had this Marchant who wasn't up for taking a trial in the first place, magically gets appointed to this. All of the things put together, you cannot. And this is what the people said on November 5th. And every time they tried the lawfare thing, his popularity and ratings went up because we saw what was happening and we wanted it to stop. And that's why even the Democratic Party started to pull off the use of the word convicted felon, because it didn't work the way they thought it would work. It just reminded us of how they railroaded it. And my favorite thing was back in the day when the trial was going on, saying it shouldn't be held in New York, should have a change of venue. And then the person on the left I'd be talking say, what, are you going to put it in Louisiana, Tennessee or something? Yeah, why not? Well, that would be fair. He'd get okay. There you go. There you go. You understand that the pool of jurors with their political leanings are very important in that case. And you don't want it. You don't want his trial in a red state because you feel they'd be more sympathetic and on his side, but you're okay with stacking the deck in the blue state. And when it comes to law, everything should always go in favor, right? It's better one guilty man goes free than 10 innocent men go to prison. That's the system we have. That's the justice system. So it's a joke when you refer to him as a convicted felon, because that says more about you and your ability to think through these things than it does about him, by the way. And the text goes on to say that he's telling the people that if you're born in this country and you give birth, you're not a U.S. citizen. So what happens to this? I'm reading the text, folks. So what happens to the soldiers from Vietnam and Afghanistan who married a woman from those countries, comes over here, he gets killed in action, and she gives birth to a baby on U.S. soil. The baby is not a U.S. You don't even listen to your own question. You just said that he marries this person. So now he's married. So his child is automatically in America as a soldier, an American citizen. His child is American citizen, regardless of where it's born. Doesn't even have to be born in American soil. The fact that it's the child of a automatically is. It makes that question makes no sense. Sorry, 774. It doesn't even compute. That's what the text line is for. But think your text through, will you? 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Let's go to the phones. Ken's been waiting patiently. Hey, Ken, what say you?
Good afternoon, Joe.
Hey.
I'm digging into the detail of Trump's citizenship clause, as it's being titled, as an exception to current status. And apparently there's two conditions from which a newborn would not be considered a citizen. One, I think everyone recognizes to the extent that both parents are illegal. But the second category is a temporary mother's residence that could be a student visa, and the father not being a lawful resident. And I'm thinking this may have been set up for those two cases to allow for the term that we hear very often when it comes to SCOTUS decisions, splitting the baby, which isn't, you can't, but if they're offered, well, we're going to allow him to, refuse citizenship to, if both parents are illegal, but we're not going to allow the second example. Makes you wonder.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the question I have, right? Because so if we're going to have this debate, if the mother, say, is here on a student visa, she is legally in the country. She's not a citizen, but she's legally here. And if she gives birth in America, does that child get citizenship? No, you're saying the clause says no? Is that?
I'm saying that Trump's, what he has issued this week does exclude that case.
Okay. So he's saying that student's child is in fact is an American citizen if they're born here. Is not.
He's
okay.
saying is not.
It's not.
Likewise, an illegal with both parents.
Yeah. Well, I think if both parents are illegal and they're not supposed to be here, it absolutely should not be. No, that's not how it should work, because you've just given this huge incentive, like a big game, right? Which is why, yes, people, women will actually try to time their pregnancy with their intended plans, right, to be in America by the time they give birth for that reason, or should get pregnant shortly after they get here too. That's another option. But see, with the student visa situation, I would be open to the debate on that, because we know they are legally here. Should you get that? I can see no is why, but I could see the argument for it, which is why I think this issue needs to be brought through the courts, argued, and then for once and for all, set the guidelines, set the rules to how this works, and take it from there.
That there's no question it's going to go through the various levels,
and
also get to SCOTUS. I'm sure, SCOTUS, when they were starting to get wind of this, they just, the ones who want to avoid trouble were just shaking their head. No, not this, because it's a big case. It impacts so much. I mean, all of are trying to deport illegals will be somewhat thwarted if the Supreme Court says, well, yeah, whatever. When it comes to
right there, right? Think of all of the children who were born to illegal parents on American soil. So if the court says they're all citizens, then you do have the fact, what are you going to deport the parents from a 4-year-old or 7-year-old? No, you see, and then you've got the family connection. So yes, it's hugely will affect things. This conversation reminds me of Tom Homan in a interview when the reporter said something to the effect of, well, what about families? If the parents are legal, you're going to separate the families. He said, no, we're not going to separate them. She goes, oh, so you won't deport him? He goes, no, we'll just deport the whole family. That didn't work out the way the reporter was hoping they were going to get an answer there. But that's the question. And see, then it comes back to what I was saying is we've got to be clear on this, because if the messaging out there and people understand that they don't have all these loopholes and things that they count on when they get here. Like if I get here and I get a baby, they're not going to deport me if my child's an American citizen. Well, if that's not an option, if that's not how it works, you don't have that. And then if the law is clear on the other stuff, that if you get across, you will be detained and held in a detention center, not free to roam the country, that will change people's, desire to come here. And then if you do avoid capture at the border, can you live here? Well, if you don't get any social services, if you're not legally here, that puts a damper on their plans. And then what about working? That has to be on the employment side, right? We have to set the rules to employers to stop employing people aren't legally here, because there are for every person who's working here who's illegal, how many other laws are being broken for that to happen? Not to mention the tax consequences. Those people, if they're being paid cash, they're avoiding the entire tax system at that point. And how does that business explain that cash, by the way? Right? So, I know of businesses that are fairly large businesses, and they've got two payrolls, the people on the books and the people off the books. They pay the people on the books every Friday, and on Saturday, they pay everybody working there under the table cash. And we're not talking about a few $100 every week. It's thousands of dollars. If you've got 17 people being paid cash and they're making $800,000 a week, that's a lot of money every week that the company has to launder. And that's what it is. Because you're not claiming that money, or how do you claim it as an expense? You see what I'm saying, Ken? There's a lot of laws being broken. So if we crack down on those businesses, and illegals cannot work because they shouldn't be working and we need to develop something else like a work permit or daily pass, right? You go through a vetting process, you get to come here, you get to work, you're allowed to drive and all this other stuff. Final thought, we're against the clock, Ken.
Issues coming up in local education systems where they're saying if ICE were to come to us while we have a child in school, that we're not going to hand them over, only to guardians or parents.
They don't have a say in the matter. Again, you're not allowed to change the law and pick the laws you want to do. It doesn't work. Thank you for the call, Ken. Greatly appreciated. If ICE shows up and it's an illegal student, they take custody. You can't, teachers, you don't have the legal authority not to stop them. Get out of the way, get arrested. All right, folks, we're going to take our third and final break. Back in 2 in 10.
Looking for guidance as you face a future on Social Security? It's hard to figure out on your own. But MedicareAdvisors.com is a completely independent insurance agency specializing in Medicare insurance planning. We work with the top insurance companies so we can offer our clients the best coverage for them. We design plans with a focus on low costs, which we combine with personalized insurance advice aimed at helping our clients make better informed decisions. Russ Swallow is a certified senior advisor and a licensed insurance advisor. He's been helping clients with their health insurance needs since 1970. And after a failed attempt at retirement, he created the Medicare Advisors in 2014. Russ concluded that since Medicare is health insurance, he might as well put his almost 50 years of health insurance experience to good use, as 75,000 people reach age 65 in Massachusetts every year, and they can use some help. Call Russ today at 508-831-0805. Put his years of personal experience to work for you as you try to unravel the complexities of Social Security.
Polar Park is the place to play, so treat yourself to a private suite at the best ballpark in AAA. Suite rentals are the best way to enjoy a fully catered and climate-controlled experience at the park. Whether you choose to watch the game from inside of the suite or out in your seats, it's the ultimate experience for a special occasion. Visit WooSox.com or call 508-500-8888 to reserve your suite today.
Nurses know it's about more than just medical skill. It's about being present, enduring, and caring. But not all settings make it easy. Enter Family Lives, a nonprofit home healthcare agency run by nurses who know nurses. Our nurses provide continuous care to patients with complex conditions. And this work permits nurses to foster relationships. The best part? We take care of our nurses too. Family Lives offers a comprehensive benefits package. Join us in caring for others and being cared for yourself. Call Family Lives at 508-475-0493.
All right, folks, welcome back to the fourth and final segment here in the Thursday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. Remember to follow me on social media platforms at Joe Mangi Show, M-A-N-G-I, Joe Mangi Show. You can always watch and listen to the show on my social media platforms as well as Rumble Live, not posted later. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. That's 508-871-7000. And our text line is 617-297-8388. And again, it would have been Teddy Goodpup's 11th birthday today. He passed away a few months ago, as you know. I did put a poem up to tribute his birthday on my Facebook, if you'd like to go check that out, personal page and show page as well. And he'll continue to be remembered. We do have the Find a Forever Home for Teddy's Friends feature here, where we still try to help shelter animals find their forever homes. But back to this week in the Trump inauguration and the administration. And of course, there's the environmental front to look at, because Trump pulled us out of several international climate agreements, arguing that these deals put America at a disadvantage while letting countries like China and India off the hook. And it did. All these things did, people. The Paris Climate Accord, it wasn't a universal understanding. Every country submitted their own plan, if you will. And China said, hey, we're going to build coal plants all the way to 2031. That's our plan. And if you tie American businesses and industries up with these environmental regulations that no one else in the world has to follow, we're still breathing the same air. It doesn't matter. So those coal plants, and the other part, and I've pointed this out before, is we have the best technology on energy when it comes to that. Our coal plants burn cleaner coal, not that the coal is cleaner, but we do a better job of doing it, and we also do a better job of refining. Plus, our crude is cleaner than, say, Venezuela or Iran. So we've got all those factors going on. And not to mention, if we're shipping energy into the country, that tanker that has to cross the ocean to get that oil to the United States, what did that just take? It's so asinine if you just think of it in these common sense. So, yes, it's putting us at a disadvantage. In China and India, two of the biggest producers of pollution on the planet, are totally off the hook. Now, the left is predictably in a full meltdown mode over this, accusing him of abandoning the fight against climate change, the buzzword. Have you ever asked somebody who's a big climate change advocate, define climate change for me? Exactly what does it mean? Can we talk about particles of CO2 in the air? And can we talk about the rainforest and how much a tree cleans every year? That kind of thing. But here's the thing. These agreements often do little to address actual environmental issues, right? They have to deal with how you run the business and what you're allowed to use and do. They're more about virtual signaling and redistributing wealth from developed nations to the rest of the world. And don't forget, Barack Obama was basically telling third world countries, yeah, you can't develop because of climate change. You can't have an industrial revolution. You can't build these plants. You can't become an America, or at least a shadow of an America, because it would hurt the environment. You got to stay at the level of development that you're at. And Trump's approach is pragmatic to this. Let's focus on innovation and American energy independence rather than crippling regulations that hurt the economy. And there are technologies. I said this a long time ago. The electric car isn't there science-wise, right? Because of the batteries. They're so toxic and the minerals that are required to make it. And what do you do when they're done? It's not quite there. Yet, Tesla had an electric car in 1906 that was pulling out of the ethos that didn't actually need to get recharged. But that technology seems to have been forgotten. But I think that you'll see a movement towards hydrogen. There's a lot of development and more efficient. You're talking about separating the hydrogen out of water, therefore running a vehicle, an engine, a motor on water. And the byproduct is water, is steam. Not steam, but just driplets of water. So if we can leapfrog to the hydrogen and put the electric car, unless the technology can change, when you talk about $18,000, $20,000 for a new battery to these things, what's the life of an electric car? Have you ever seen pictures of the graveyards of these places? And what has to be done, how horrible the earth is torn apart to get to these minerals and chemicals? It's crazy. Electric cars should never be referred to as green vehicles. Not just because the electricity that used to charge them probably came from fossil fuel, but because of the batteries. And of course, these bold moves aren't sitting well with political establishment, right? We're already hearing whispers about retribution against Trump's critics and former officials. Some are accusing him of authoritarianism, claiming he's using his power to settle scores. But let's be honest, what we're really seeing is the swamp fighting back here. The same people who spent years undermining Trump's first term are now scrambling to protect their own interests. And while the media is quick to criticize Trump, they conveniently ignore the corruption and incompetence that plagued Washington for decades. And you're watching Sonny on The View saying that he's actually a DEI hire and he's not a president by merit and he got everything handed to him. And they just can't reconcile what's happening. They got to step back and read the room. We spoke in November, clearly, definitively, with electoral votes, with the popular vote, and maintaining, or his party maintaining control in the House and the Senate. Slim as that might be in the House, it's still there. And now these hearings, right? And the Democrats are using this, they're going to use the rules to delay, right? 30 hours of debate. They're not going to confirm these people in a timely manner. Marco Rubio, first one. He is Secretary of State. But they're going to hold up others. They're going to try to hold up Kash Patel. Right? They're going to try to hold up Tulsi Gabbard for some reason. Democrats really don't like her, even though she was a former Democratic congressman, Democratic presidential candidate. And now, if you didn't catch it, the first bill, and it could have happened while I'm on the air, I don't know. The first bill President Trump is expected to sign is the Lake and Riley bill that cleared the House after it cleared the Senate. So it's cleared both chambers. It's gone to the president's desk. And it's expected that his first bill to sign as 47th president will be the Lake and Riley bill, making it into law. That basically says that if you are here illegally, or if you're here even legally, and you commit such a heinous crime, you're automatically deported. And that bill would have saved Lake and Riley, as well as many other young ladies and children, by the way. So on the global stage, Trump policies are already making waves. At Davos, he emphasized the need for fair trade, called out countries that have taken advantage of America's generosity. This is a message that resonates not just with conservatives, but with anyone who believes in fairness and accountability. The days of America being the world's piggy bank are over. And I've talked about this. Donald Trump's doctrine has been consistent for 30, 40 years. You can go back to the 90s and early 2000s and listen to him on the Letterman show, on Leno, wherever he was in those days. And he would, remember back in the early 2000s, he was taking out full-page ads in the Wall Street Journal talking about the fairness in the trades and how we're being taken advantage. That has never changed. It's always bothered him. And he's never understood why we tolerated these one-sided deals. And these deals that have been made that are costing America is costing you. The imbalance in the trade has always been at the cost of your tax dollars, folks. So he's not going to let America be the world's piggy bank anymore and forgive all these loans. And he wants fairness. He did it with the United Nations, right? Paying the fees. When they let them know, if you're not currently paid up on your fees, then you're not really part of it, are you? And fees, billions of dollars came in and they caught up on it. So I do still want to, we got a couple minutes, I want to hear from you. What do you think about Trump's agenda? Are these bold moves exactly what the country needs, or are they areas where we could even go further? Do you believe his critics are justified? Or is this just another example of the swamp refusing to let go of the power? That's what they want to hold on to, the power. And of course, I have to touch on the reactions from social media and the broader public discourse here. Twitter, Facebook, even TikTok are lighting up with debates over these policies. Some are calling Trump a visionary, while others are labeling him a tyrant. Tyrant's a bit of a stretch, don't you think? But here's the truth. Real leadership isn't about being popular. It's about making tough decisions and standing firm in the face of criticism. And he certainly has done that for the better part of a decade now. And TikTok is another issue, which he extended, 75 days? Because he really, of course, he likes it because he thinks it really helped his campaign. But we cannot have such a blatant spyware, Chinese spyware there. Yes, they make our phones, they make computers. I've always assumed that my Samsung and my computer made in China had spyware on it, it had the ability. You do it. But don't forget, we willingly send stuff over the internet all the time. You don't think that can be pulled out of the air? Of course it can. Folks, this wraps up the Thursday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here in AM 830 WCRN Radio Central. Thank you for joining me. I'll be back Monday at 1 o'clock. Tomorrow at 1 o'clock, the Carr Brothers will be in. Right now, after me, is Frankie Boyer. So stay tuned there. She has great information you should really pay attention to. Joe out, folks.